The sooner you listen to this podcast, the better. Hello, everyone. My name is Tessa. I'm here to introduce you to Reagan Rodriguez and the Futurist Mindset Show. Reagan is a futurist that teaches stratosphere wealthy legacy families how to become impact investors. Hi, Reagan.
Hello, Tessa. How are you doing on this afternoon?
I'm doing great. How is everything going good in your
Oh
area?
yeah. I'm doing better than I deserve. And based on the subject of today's topic, those that are listening will be doing even better after today.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Do you
Well,
want me to go ahead?
yeah, I was going to say you can introduce Grace for us and tell us a little bit about our guest for today.
Yes. Well, I've known Grace for years, over since I was a child. So over 30 years, and we've always kept in touch. Her family's kind of been just close to me. They used to invite me to, I remember Easter and other holidays. So we've just become great friends. She's like a sister to me. And she's also a numbers person. So she was actually a economics major at The Ohio State University. So she's great with people and numbers. And I asked her if she wanted to join us today because with what I do, there's basically 6 steps that you basically need to follow when you're raising money, right? I'll just very quickly, you develop a business plan, as you know, Tessa. You then figure out the least amount of money you need to achieve in those milestones. You then want to kind of perfect your pitch. You then want to, Grace, as you see me here in the area, I'm really involved in my community and being involved in the community. As I sent you a picture, I had done my early voting yesterday, and I did it at the library here, Coral Gables. I like that because I like the community I'm in. So next, you want to get advisors and put together almost like a board, if you will. And then you want to just figure out multiple forms of money that you can raise. And that's what today's topic is about. Because there's basically 3 main pools of capital. You've got debt, you've got equity, which is what I do. And then we've got what Grace does, which is more creative and or alternative financing. So on that note, Grace, why don't you tell them about you?
Thank you, Regan. And Regan, I always learn from you. So that was excellent. Tessa, always a pleasure. Great to see you. And well, today's subject is exactly like the title that you heard today. We are actually talking about the self-employed tax credit. And Regan, as you know, during the pandemic, I focused on helping people and business owners get some of the funding that was available through the pandemic.
You helped a mutual friend of ours get like 6 figures, and I know other friends that you've also even helped that maybe owed taxes, and some of that money went towards that. So I won't steal your thunder. Keep going. Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. Well, this is a tax credit. It is one of the last programs left from the pandemic through everything that was released. It's from the Family First Coronavirus Response Act. And of course, as I mentioned, it's a self-employed tax credit. Well, as you and I have talked about, Regan, all of the programs have had different requirements, different criteria to qualify, as does this one. So we'll just talk about some of the criteria and how you may be able to qualify. And so basically, with the self-employment tax credit, you do need to be self-employed. And actually, you could be a corporation. You could be set up structured where you are paying employees and still qualify as long as you're not paying yourself as an employee. And so this is for people with 1099. And I'll give you a couple of quick, easy things to look for. First of all, I do want to mention that per person, you can receive up to $32,220 in this tax credit. And unlike some of the others, this one is focused on your net income. The higher the net income, the better you can do. Some of the other programs were based on declines in gross wages, based on, showing, hindrance from the pandemic. This is a little bit different. For this one, you're going to want to look, it's for the years 20 and 21. You're going to want to look at your tax returns from those years, and you're going to want to look for your Schedule SE. Now, the Schedule SE usually is behind your Schedule C, and it's reflective of the amount that you pay in self-employment tax. Okay, and you might say, well, Grace, I have my returns out. I have the Schedule C. I see the Schedule C. I don't see a Schedule SE. There could be a couple reasons for that. One is you had to have a net profit to pay self-employment tax. Sometimes after write-offs, or you might be taking a depreciation, you may not have a Schedule SE, but don't let that hinder you from investigating whether you can qualify or not. There's a lot of little nuances that with this credit that we just want to get the facts and find out. Typically, Regan, you'd be surprised. Normally within, a short 15-minute conversation, I'm able to tell if somebody qualifies or not. So I really like that. But you're going to want to go to line 6 of the years 20 and 21. And if that number is between, I'll say 10 and 15,000 or more, there's a good chance you could get something back in a tax credit. Now, I'll take a minute and mention that the actual tax credit, if you owe the IRS taxes from any year, then the credit would be applied to what you owe. If you do not owe the IRS any taxes, then you will receive a check from them that is non-taxable, and you're able to spend it any way that you like. So that part is incredible. Another factor from this program I want to mention is that if you have dependents listed on your tax return for those 2 particular years, that can actually increase the number that you end up getting. So there's a lot of factors involved. We kind of get all the information and then put it all together and find out exactly what you would be able to receive.
Grace, you mentioned, I didn't want to interrupt, but I remember when you mentioned that just within a few minutes, you'll know whether they qualify or not. I want to add, I'm thinking of maybe 2-3 people of names that I've given you. And then when you and I talked, or maybe that person called me and said, oh, that friend of yours that you referred me to, man, she was awesome. And I was like, oh, is she able to help you? And you go, no, within a few minutes, she asked me a question, asked me another, and then right away said, yeah, I don't think we'd be able to help you. And then another person said she was really helpful with answering some other questions and other things that I did, but we just realized it wasn't a fit. So that, just as she mentioned, just a quick call. She knows this industry that well, and her mind works so great. She's got this great creative mind, not just this mind for numbers, that she'll know within a few seconds or minutes. The other question I was going to ask, industries. I know somebody that you helped that is in the, owns a beauty salon, and as a result, you help them. I think you've also helped somebody else in the restaurant industry. So how much of it has to do with when the pandemic, if that industry was shut down, or do industries matter at all?
Well, Regan, that's a great point. And, what's interesting is if you think of attorneys, or you think of real estate agents, you think of hairstylists or beauticians, like our friend, you're looking for people typically that are going to have a significant amount of net income from what they do. And so in that respect, you're looking at professional people. It could be a plumber. It could be plumbers make more than doctors, in many cases. So, I mean, it could be construction. It could be a lot of different industries. But the biggest thing is, as long as they're not an employee and they get a 1099, to me, it's worth checking. I don't know. I think I may have mentioned this earlier, but again, if you have a spouse, you both can qualify separately if you're both self-employed. And so that part's really incredible to know, because, that could bring even more money to a household. And again, dependents, if the person has dependents, they could qualify more. I've helped people, Regan, in many industries. I've helped attorneys, I've helped people in real estate, I've helped beauticians, as you mentioned. I've helped people that do all kinds of things. But the biggest thing is, this is put in place to help those that were self-employed and their lack of ability to earn income could have been affected by the pandemic. And that's what it's addressing. We want to, they're saying we want to still get people money that were affected, their livelihood was affected. Now, we haven't talked about deadlines yet, but as with taxes, when you are filing for an amendment, you have a 3-year window from when you filed to actually obtain a credit. And so the baseline deadline is April 15th of 2025. So I definitely wanted to mention that, but there's still plenty of time to get it in. And also, sometimes tax preparers are not familiar, is what we've learned, with all of the different funding that has been out there. Some definitely are. But I've learned along the way that a lot of times they've been so busy with what they've been doing in preparing taxes, they just haven't had the time or the wherewithal to study out programs. Also, one thing I love about what I'm able to provide is that I'm actually able to have conversations with people. There are a couple of bigger companies out there, but typically you're not able to have a conversation. It's done through email or through just applying online, and you're not able to ask questions, that kind of thing. Or the person that you're actually speaking with doesn't have the wherewithal of knowledge of the actual funding program. And so, but I'm happy to help anybody just with a phone call and just to do a quick check, just to see if, they actually do qualify, and then we go from there.
Grace, you reminded me of something where it was something I believe that you said, they may not know the wherewithal, they don't get it, or maybe they're new in the industry and think, oh, great, I can make I don't know, a big check or whatever by helping someone. I don't know what people, but you have experience on it. And what that reminded me of, is the image that is used on this YouTube video. You're wondering, why did I pick that image? I actually went to a continuing education course that was on financing, and they had that was part of what was in the kind of ebook. And when I saw the presentation being done at this continuing education class I took, I thought, what a horrible word to use. Why would they do pyramid when they're referring to funding? And especially and I think during that time was when the whole Elizabeth Holmes thing was going on again. And I'm like, it's so dumb. Why would they use that? And then later I thought about how uneducated most people are when it comes to finding the type of funding that they need. And people don't really know what the real truth, or I should say the reality about funding. What were you going to say, Grace?
Well, that's absolutely true, Reagan. And this is, written, on the IRS site as a code. And, kind of like the ERC was another popular program where a lot of businesses
did that as well. Yeah.
I have handled that as well, where businesses got to benefit from that. And there's so many rules and regulations and just I don't know if that's quite the right word, but you do want to have knowledge and you do, but it's official. You know, it's a very official program. And again, it's in legislature. It's from the Family First Coronavirus Response Act. And, you know, there's been several that have come across the way, like the PPP and which was the payroll protection program that ended a couple years ago, and the EIDL, which was designed to help loan people money. And then, of course, the ERC, which benefited so many businesses. There was a restaurant restoration program. There are all kinds of programs that came out of the pandemic. And truthfully, you know, this is one of the last ones that I'm familiar with that's available. And so I'm just on a mission to help as many people as I can before it expires.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And another thing I'm going to add to that, again, when we think of pyramid and finance, we're like, oh gosh, no. I wanted to show that visual as a shock therapy. Okay. That's why you're not getting the success. If you're going after who's at the top, that institutional funding, venture capital is just not going to happen at first. You've got to know what are the phases to eventually get into that point where you will get equity funding. I think the best analogy is it's like that 22-year-old or 23-year-old, they just graduated from college and they get this job at some Fortune 500 company. And they're working in the cubicle. And they say, you know what? I think it's just a matter of time till I become the next CEO. It's not, dude. Really. It's a pyramid. There's only one CEO. That person has to either die, retire, or get fired. Okay. So you're you're way down here, right? And so like the hair salon or that you help, that beauty salon, they wouldn't have qualified for venture capital funding. They wouldn't qualify for private equity funding. I think that's just a myth that people have. You are down here, so there are other creative ways. And
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because I had a personal trainer who was a referral, and I do take referrals and give a referral fee, but he just thanked me. He said, you know, not everybody's going to take the time to help us. And you know, and he didn't get a lot, but it was more than something. And so, and again, you know, it's funding without any kind of spending restraint on it if you do not owe taxes. And so, you know, what a blessing. You know, he's thanked me a couple times just for helping him. And that's what I want to do. I want to help anybody that can qualify, you know, be able to get it.
Well, and I do have a contact info for Grace. So if you want to reach out to her, we'll put it on the screen as well, but it's QuickCheckSETC@gmail.com. So again, I'll make sure it's showing on the screen for y'all. And if you want to reach out, you have questions, want to find out if you're going to be able to qualify, then she can help you.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you, Tessa.
Thank you. And Reagan, did you have anything else you want to close this out?
I think we've gone over everything. Grace, you just did a great job of providing a really good overview. So Tessa, why don't you close us out of here and do what you do best? Yeah,
absolutely. Well, we're here on Friday. So if you haven't already hit the bell to get notifications when we go live, you can hit the bell and just log in and you'll be able to get the notifications right to your devices. And Reagan is available at Fifth Avenue Capitol, and I will put that on the screen as well, just so you can see how the website URL is. If you guys have any questions, you can reach out to Reagan about the projects that are on the website in the portfolio section, or reach directly out to Grace about this topic. And